Nice to see you.
It's nice to be seen.
It is. I have a question. Well, I guess first a question, then I want to share an experience. You talked about metaphysics and personality and source.
Is there anything we didn't talk about?
Just most recently. Could it be said that, I guess, our personality is sort of an interpretation or expression of components of our source, as far as defining who we are as people, how we identify ourselves?
Yes, and to the degree that you allow your connection, that personality, in other words, an angry personality, is out of sync with source.
Right.
A happy, joyful one, more in sync.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can that interpretation of our source, so therefore our personality, change or modify over time based on our experiences?
Yeah, but your personality also is influenced by your surroundings,
by
your interactions with others.
Okay.
There are a lot of things that are part of all of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess then I'll share the experience and kind of tie into the whole personality thing. I guess it was maybe 2 years ago, I came and I spoke with you, and I shared my experience. I guess you'd call it a near-death experience, what typically is called. I went non-physical, and I've shared a lot about that with you, and I really appreciate what you gave back to me around that. I guess I'm here more to talk about not so much the non-physical aspect of it, but more the physical experience of it back in 3D reality or 4D reality. Something happened recently, and I think I kind of got what it was about, but I want to make sure I interpreted it correctly, hence my desire to speak with you about that. So where I was injured almost 6 years ago or so was a job site in Newark, North Carolina. I've gone there 20 plus times at least. Never been a big deal, going there to do my job, show up, like my work outside, listen to music or Abraham or baseball games, and it's easy and smooth. But this one day, I had paused, and a song came on. A really, I guess, deep and meaningful song to me. It's a song, Hallelujah, Leonard Cohen's song, as interpreted by Jeff Buckley, and I've always been really moved by that piece. It's just beautiful and just spiritual.
Because of the significant, powerful degree of alignment of the person in the presentation of it.
It's spectacular.
Yeah.
And it was a trigger. And as it played, I just was overcome by this just like flood of emotions. It was almost like the floodgates opened, these tears poured out of my eyes, and it was a real purging of, grieving and sadness. It was almost analogous to...
Let's not call it a purging.
Okay.
Let's call it a releasing, because in that vibration of alignment, none of that other stuff could abide in that vibration, so it had to go away.
It did. And the profound... It felt like grieving, like I've lost, so someone has passed on, like a loved one, like a grandparent or my best friend at the age of 25. It felt like the overwhelming emotions, the flood of feelings were analogous to that, and it was so strange because I felt like I was crying and grieving and almost mourning.
We like the word releasing. We really like the word releasing.
Like almost grieving the loss of the person I was before my injury. Because it was a very catastrophic experience. Traumatic brain injury is what it is.
Yeah.
I guess I had come to a point of accepting who I am now, but I'm not quite let go of my attachment to the person who I had been before. It was so unusual because I was laying in the grass. Sorry.
Well, we're interrupting you, so don't apologize to us. But we would format it this way in our mind.
Please.
First of all, you were called to the moment in time where you rendezvoused with that song.
Right.
So you were pitched there or close to there vibrationally already.
Okay.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have rendezvoused the way you did, and you wouldn't have had the extraordinary feeling of alignment that you did.
Right.
Now, always, when you really powerfully know what you do want, what you don't want is part of the equation. We talked about that for the first time in a really strong way here today.
Yeah.
So it isn't that you were grieving the person that you once were. It was that in the divine celebration of who you really are, there was an awareness that that other possibility was there, that that other choice was there. Not that you had been something that you now aren't, but that you now are something. It's the are-ness, not the not-ness.
And I get that. It was, and so it's kind of like, almost like the integration of maybe the personality who defined me before the injury and the personality who defines me after the injury. They're both components of they both have a connection to my source. There may be modified interpretations thereof, but it's it's kind of like it was a healing. There's sadness, there's tears, but it was a very healing process.
What if that traumatic brain injury, whatever, blah, 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 they want to
Yeah.
What if that was on your path?
It is on my path. Well, it wasn't my. It is on my
What
path.
if that was on your path in order to help you be who you really are?
Well, I get that. I mean, that's what I said last time we spoke. That
So if that is true, then there would be no logical grieving of the loss of who you were because of the presence of who you are.
Well, and I guess my one variation of that would be that I guess I had a really strong attachment to the person I had been, or the personality I had embodied. And as I was laying in the grass, with just tears streaming down my face, this is uncanny. So I could almost I'm about 100 feet from where the injury actually happened on the exact same job site. I could almost feel the release and almost kind of see
the letting go of it.
the letting go of my attachment to the person I had been and allowing it to the person I am now.
Are you sorry you don't still wear diapers?
No.
In other words, that's a person you once were.
Right.
Are you sorry that you now have teeth?
No.
Because there was a time when you didn't. There's no reason to grieve what you've left behind, and every reason to celebrate where you now stand and who you now are.
And that's where I am now. I guess, it's always a coming in, it's an evolving. It's a coming into acceptance, coming into peace, coming into allowing, coming into just, really realizing all the potential. I think because the experience was so sharp and acute and literally traumatic, but as I was laying in the grass, I could almost kind of see the spirit, or whatever you want to say, the metaphysics of releasing my personal attachment to how I had identified myself before and maybe felt that I no longer was. And it was powerful, and it was so freeing in a sense, because I had such an attachment to it, even though, like we're saying, it's nothing negative, it's all beneficial in the bigger picture aspect of my experience of life.
You've been listening to us for quite a while talk about what it's like when you release resistance and reemerge into non-physical.
Right, and I get that.
That's what it's like.
Well,
that's what it's like, leaving behind all doubt and fear and worry, and accepting the perfection and pureness and value of that which you now are.
Right. And it's interesting. So my neuropsychiatrist, one of a team of doctors, he always wanted to give me certain prescriptions. I would just decline them respectfully. This wasn't my thing. Final diagnosis last visit was, he said, you've got personality change due to traumatic brain injury. And I thought about that, and I said, that kind of makes sense. That kind of makes sense. That my interpretation of my source...
We want to say something to you.
Go ahead.
Every person in this room, if they were to go home and talk really soon with the people who are used to them,
Right.
would be told by them, you've got personality changes. You don't feel like you used to feel to me. I think you're a little off your rocker because you are unnaturally joyful and you aren't responding to conditions in the way that you once did. And so accept the morphing and evolution of that which you are.
Right.
Yeah?
And like I said last time we spoke, I am so appreciative of the whole experience. Big picture, it's such a blessing because it's allowed me to become more, I feel, in alignment with my source energy than I may have had access to before.
Yeah, for sure.
Because bad things don't happen.
As we said to someone earlier, we spend no time tapping into what was.
Right.
So we're just going to say, we don't know who you were, but we sure like who you are.
Well, thank you. And as far as the releasing on that day, it was my releasing of attachment to the past, to who I had been, because I had some fixation that that person was better than the person I am now, or whatever my
Use the word different, or use the word other, but not better, because there is no regression. There is no regression. There is no regression.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Really good.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
This has been fun. We've enjoyed this personality change. And we've enjoyed witnessing your traumatic brain injury. It's not easy to let go of the status quo. But what is often holds vibrations that don't allow who you really are and what you really want. So being in an environment for a few hours like we have all been together, where you are moving in and out, more in than out, in and out of a steady vibration that represents not who you were, but who you have become, is the most helpful experience that you could accomplish. Because in new vantage points, there are new experiences, and new experiences are the reason that you're here. If you didn't want to be on the leading edge with the new experience, you would have remained in non-physical rather than coming to this leading edge where you could experience the tactile deliciousness of getting to be part of every part of the movement of the evolution of the creative energy into the things that you are wanting. In other words, every step along the way in this creative evolution is delicious. Humans often are looking for the end point instead of the fun along the way. That would be like going to an amusement park and asking for the shortest ride. Being little and going to the playground and getting on the shortest slippery slide. Want to get it over with that. I want to get to the end. I want to get to the end of the fun really fast. That'd be like asking for ice cream cones that are only this big. In other words, you are wanting the savoring of this experience. And you've put yourself in a vibrational stance where there'll be a whole lot more of that going on. There's nothing serious going on here. There isn't anything that you're supposed to be doing that you're not doing. You're always on your path. But you are capable of so much steady, chronic joy than you have been allowing yourself. And we are so happy that shifting is taking place. You've been appreciating us and Esther, and we are all appreciating your appreciation. But mostly we want to say to you that without your willingness to play the game of this life experience, and without your willingness to expose yourself to the details of life in order to bring yourself to the conscious realization of wanting more, expansion would cease. Now, of course, it's not going to. But there is an appreciation that must be shined back at you, because in your willingness to expose yourself to faster expansion, in your willingness to come into this body, to reach for more than mankind has experienced before, in your willingness to sift through a larger variety of contrast, in your willingness to play this game of life in this physical time-space reality, you have put the energy in motion. And the reason that we come at your request to play with you is because when you're up to speed with the energy that you've put in motion, then there is ease and joy and satisfaction and fulfillment. But when the energy moves faster and you don't let yourself be up to speed with it, then you get beat up, and that's when you begin to proclaim yourself as less than, or as unworthy, or as insignificant, when you could not be more significant to all that is. It's time for you to relax and allow yourself the freedom and the fun that you came to experience in this powerful creative process. You are creators. You are source energy. You are extensions of source energy in physical bodies. And your potential for joy is just beginning to be realized. That's the success that you're looking for. That's the path that you're looking for.